Hello, my name is Karen Malloy, and I'm here to do something that God told me to do a long time ago. 14 years ago, He directed me to share my life story. Not that so that I can receive a whole bunch of likes, a whole bunch of followers, or anything else like that. But my God wants me to share my story because my story is not unlike anyone else's story. I've been through a lot, I have experienced a lot, but my story, I pray, is a blessing to someone else who's ever struggling and who don't know where to turn to. I grew up like most other people. I had a father and I had a mother until I was 5 years old, living in the same household. But things happened. And then one day, my father just got up and left. When he left my mother with five children, one 6, one 5, one 3, one 2, and a baby that was 6 weeks old. I am not in control over what other people do, but I am in control with how I respond to it. Abandonment is not an easy thing to deal with. I know that because I have, even in my adult years, still struggle with the fact that I was abandoned at such a young age, a young girl at 5 years old. I was raised by a single mom. She was a strong woman. That I will tell you, she took care of us. She fed us and she clothed us, but it was not without her issues. And unfortunately, since I did not have a father, I was raised by a single mother. And that was the only example that I had. And in turn, I also became a single mother. And sadly, even though I did everything in my power to make sure that my children did not do the same thing, unfortunately, my children also end up being single parents. So, what I want to do now is to break the cycle. Break the cycle of single parenting in my home, in my ancestry. Also to do the same thing because my mother, she became a single mother not because of the choices that she made. My father made that choice for her. But every little girl needs to have a father in her life so that she can teach her what kind of man to look for in her life. And in my case, I never learned that. And growing up in a single mom, she made some bad choices. She also made some bad choices with men. At 5 years old, I remember my parents fighting constantly. I grew up in a house of fear. So as a result, I lived my life with fear. And I remember vividly the day that my dad left. And I was standing there looking at him. The police were handcuffing him. And they were handcuffing him because him and my mother had had a very violent altercation. There was a knife involved. Fortunately, no one got cut and no one got hurt. But he left the house. And sadly, we went very quickly from a two-parent household to a one-parent household. And as you can imagine, with my mom with a young baby, she could no longer go to work, and we ended up on welfare, which happens to be a common plight for a lot of single parents, and especially with my age, as you can see from my gray hairs, that it happened back then where we ended up on welfare, and back then they put us in a hotel. But at 5 or 6 years old, my brother and I were catching a city bus to go to school. We attended a Catholic school, which I really enjoyed until the moment that ended as well. And sadly, it was my fault that it ended. I recall I got into an argument with a girl, at least I think it was a girl, over a carton of milk, chocolate milk at that, which resulted in what nuns do. What do nuns do? They discipline you, and she took that ruler and she did. She cracked those knuckles. I told my mom about it. And my mother, being the mama bear that she was, she went to the school, cursed out the nuns, and as a result, my time at the Catholic school ended. Very shortly after that, I don't recall what school we ended up going to, but I do remember my experiences living in that welfare hotel. We were right next door to a movie theater, so we did go to attend a few movies because it was so close by. I remember my mother cooking on a hot plate because we couldn't afford to eat out. So she would go shopping and bring food there, and we would cook our dinner on the hot plate. And I remember the time that my mother, she decided she was going to pierce my ears. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why I'm so afraid of needles now. But we don't like to admit that is we're all influenced by our childhood experiences. And in my case, I had a lot of childhood experiences, a lot of traumatic experiences. Getting my ears pierced was equally traumatic. And I recall standing there crying and screaming. And of course, my mother didn't faze her one bit. She took that needle and she threaded it with that thread. She took her lighter and she heated it. Then she had to take me and she had to wrap her legs around me because I would not come willingly. She held me there and took an ice cube and numbed my ear. Then she took that needle, heated again, and she pushed it through my ear. She did the same for my other ear. And I actually spent a week or two going around with these little threads, knotted threads hanging out my ear. Every night, she would very carefully clean it with the alcohol and take the Vaseline and put it on the thread and just pull it back and forth until it healed. I was thankful for that experience, though, that actually began in traumatic pain, but it ended with me wearing these beautiful earrings. And I loved my earrings. So, why did I tell you that? Not everything that starts off bad ends up bad. And God says that in His Word. That which the enemy meant for bad, God turned it around through His good. So, what I would be sharing here on a regular basis is I will be talking about my traumatic experiences. I will be talking about how those things impacted me in my life. And while I have not overcome all of those things, many of those things turned out into something that was actually rich and beautiful. God turned that thing around. Some of the things God is still turning it around, and I'm looking forward to what He's going to be doing with these experiences. So I'm hoping, and feel free to leave your comments. Feel free to talk about how what I am sharing is blessing you. You know, I am here to help and only give helpful information. If you don't have anything kind to say, I'd appreciate it if you do not. If this does not benefit you, that is okay. It is not for you. But please do not turn this into a bad situation for people that it could benefit. I would like this to be a place of freedom. I would like this to be a place where people will be set free and delivered. I would like this the place to be for people to get healing for their damaged emotions. I will also like this a place to be for me to also get free. I am not perfect. There is only one perfect being, and that is Jesus. He was the only perfect being. But I truly believe that God will take these ashes, and out from these ashes will become something beautiful and enriched and whole. Thank you for listening. Please do have a blessed day.